Rain fell hard over the Kingston estate, each drop glinting under the golden security lights like shards of glass. The marble steps were slick, the iron gates towering like prison bars between two different worlds, one of wealth and another of struggle. Jack Ryland stood outside them, soaked to the bone, his flannel shirt clinging to his frame, boots muddy from the long walk up the hill. He held a brown envelope close to his chest, shielding it from the rain with a trembling hand. Inside that envelope was everything he had left to fight with: medical reports, photos, and a handwritten plea for justice. A black SUV rolled past him, spraying cold water onto his jeans. Inside, a laughing couple barely noticed him. To them, he was invisible, a shadow at the edge of their luxury. But Jack wasn't leaving, not tonight. He had already tried calling, writing, begging. No one had listened when his daughter started coughing blood. No one cared that Kingston Industries had poisoned the water running through Mill Creek. This was his last chance. The guard approached, holding an umbrella that didn't bother to cover Jack. "Hey, you again," he said, voice full of irritation. "I told you this is a private event. Go home before I call the cops." Jack's voice was steady, though there was a crack beneath it. "I just need 5 minutes with Mr. Kingston, that's all. He has to see this." The guard folded his arms. "Do I look like a delivery boy to you? Mr. Kingston doesn't meet random guys off the street. You think you can just walk up to the richest man in the state?" Jack didn't answer. He looked past the guard, watching the glowing windows where men in suits and women in diamonds were sipping champagne, laughing as if the world wasn't burning outside. He could almost see his daughter's pale face in that light, Emily, lying in her hospital bed, too weak to smile. "I'm not leaving," Jack said softly. The guard chuckled, his tone sharp as glass. "You're not leaving, buddy. I could break you in half before the police even get here. Don't embarrass yourself." Jack turned his gaze back to him, calm but firm. "You think I'm afraid of you?" The guard's grin widened. "Afraid? No, I just think you're stupid." He took a step forward, squaring his shoulders, trying to make his size a warning. "You've got 5 seconds to walk away, old man." Jack didn't move. Rain streamed down his face as he placed the envelope on the small security table beside the guard's post. The flap was soaked, the ink smudging. He slowly began rolling up his sleeve, his movements deliberate and quiet. The guard frowned. "What are you?" Jack didn't speak. The sleeve kept rising, revealing the worn skin of his forearm, lined with faded ink, a small cross, a series of numbers, and a military insignia the guard recognized immediately. The rain made the tattoo gleam, each symbol a reminder of men who didn't laugh when things got serious. The guard's smirk faltered. He looked from the tattoo to Jack's eyes, steady, cold, unshaken. Jack flexed his arm, the muscle tightening beneath the scars. "You were saying," he asked quietly. For a long moment, the guard didn't move. The storm thundered behind them, echoing off the marble. He took a half step back, unsure now if this man was just some desperate father or something far more dangerous. Jack's voice cut through the rain. "You tell your boss I'm not here for money. I'm here because of what he did. You tell him I've got proof, and I'm done being ignored." The guard swallowed hard, his earlier arrogance gone. "Wait here," he muttered, turning toward the intercom. Jack nodded once. The gate began to buzz open slowly, metal grinding against the rain. As it did, the guard glanced back at him, no longer mocking, no longer laughing, but with a flicker of respect and fear. For the first time that night, the gate to Kingston's world opened not for wealth, but for a man who refused to bow. The warmth of the Kingston mansion hit Jack like a wave as he stepped inside. The marble floors reflected the chandelier light, and a faint scent of cigars and expensive whiskey hung in the air. He felt out of place, dripping rainwater onto imported rugs worth more than his entire garage. Every step he took echoed, like an unwanted reminder that he didn't belong here. But belonging wasn't his goal. He was here for truth, for his daughter, for something bigger than fear. The guards flanked him but kept their distance now, their earlier smugness gone. They walked him through a hall lined with portraits of Kingston ancestors, men who'd built empires on other people's sweat. At the end of the hall, a massive oak door loomed. One of the guards knocked once, then pushed it open. Inside, Benjamin Kingston stood near the fireplace, his suit immaculate, his silver hair combed perfectly. He turned slowly, swirling a crystal glass of whiskey. His eyes swept over Jack, taking in the flannel shirt, the muddy boots, the calloused hands. "Mr. Ryland," he said in a smooth, detached voice. My security tells me you were very insistent. Jack didn't answer. He stepped forward and set the soaked envelope on the polished mahogany desk. The edges had begun to curl, but the contents inside were dry enough. These are lab results, photos, witness statements. You've been dumping toxic waste near Mill Creek for years. My daughter got sick because of it. Kingston raised an eyebrow, clearly amused. You've come all this way in the rain for that. You should have sent it through the proper channels. I did, Jack said quietly. You ignored every one of them. The billionaire's lips twitched into a faint smirk. Mr. Rylan, I own 37 facilities. I can't be expected to monitor every pipe, every drain. If you think something happened, call your local environmental board. Jack's jaw clenched. I did that too. They said the tests were inconclusive. That was after your lawyers got involved. Kingston took a slow sip of whiskey, his tone turning colder. You're accusing me of something serious. I could ruin you for this. Jack reached into his jacket and pulled out a small, folded photograph, Emily, lying in her hospital bed, a tiny smile on her pale face. He placed it beside the whiskey glass. You already did. For a moment, the only sound was the fire crackling in the fireplace. Kingston's expression softened briefly, but only for a second. I'm sorry about your daughter, he said, though there was no emotion behind the words. But business is business. Accidents happen. Jack leaned forward, his voice low and steady. Accidents don't happen when barrels are buried in secret. I worked construction before I opened my shop. I know the signs of a cover-up. I've got photos of your trucks dumping waste in the creek at night. Kingston's composure cracked, just slightly. He set his glass down. You have no idea what you're talking about. I know exactly what I'm talking about, Jack said. I also know you've been bribing the local inspector. He drives a new car every 6 months. I checked. The billionaire's jaw tightened. You're walking a dangerous line. Jack straightened, his voice rising with conviction. You poisoned kids, Kingston. My kid. You think your money keeps you safe, but I've faced worse men than you, men who hid behind walls, thinking they were untouchable. They weren't. The guard from earlier cleared his throat, stepping inside. Sir, I checked his background. He's ex-military. Recon. Free tours. Kingston looked from the guard back to Jack, something shifting in his eyes. For the first time, there was uncertainty. Jack nodded slowly. I fixed engines, not people. But I watched good men die because someone rich made the wrong call. I won't watch my daughter die because you made the same mistake. Kingston walked to the desk, staring down at the photo of Emily. His hand trembled faintly before he clenched it into a fist. Leave the papers, he said finally. Jack stared at him for a long moment, then turned toward the door. If she dies, he said, his voice quiet but sharp as steel, I won't come back with papers. The guard opened the door without a word. The same man who had mocked him now stood aside, his eyes lowered. As Jack stepped out into the night, the rain had slowed to a drizzle. The clouds broke just enough for the moon to cast a silver glow over the driveway. He paused for a moment, breathing deeply. He didn't know if Kingston would do the right thing or try to bury the truth again. But one thing was certain, the man inside that mansion would never forget the look in his eyes. For once, Jack had made the powerful listen. And sometimes, that was the first step toward justice.